cha-cha-cha-cha-boom. I like hugs and I like cake with the yum yum yum. It's lovin' that I bake. I'm your best friend through and through until the Grim Reaper comes for you.
I have no idea how I've gone this long without making a video about South Park on my channel. Stop, nobody knows those videos exist. South Park is an adult animated comedy airing on Comedy Central that focuses on 4 boys, Eric, Kyle, Stan, and Kenny, as we watch their daily activities in the small mountain town South Park. It was very successful, with it finishing its 22nd season back in December. Emphasis on was very successful, because judging by the current ratings of the show, it doesn't seem like it's doing too well ratings-wise. Now this could be down to many things: the show's current focus on more serialized stories compared to the one-offs of earlier seasons, its obsession with politics in each episode basically being, so this week in the news, the fact that the main 4 boys are barely involved in the show anymore and mostly revolves around the adults, or just an overall lack of interest in it, and I wouldn't be surprised if the show were coming close to cancellation. I personally wouldn't really know how to feel about that. A part of me wants the show to continue on endlessly like The Simpsons, providing me with more content of it to watch until the end of time, but another part of me would prefer to see the show not run itself into the ground, with awful episodes I see people complain about on the internet. Like The Simpsons, and end while it's still good. This is somewhat good. But did you know South Park was close to being cancelled far earlier? Like, Season 3 earlier? The creators of the show, Matt Stone and especially Trey Parker, have been very open about their disdain of the first 3 seasons.
So it's ridiculous. That's not funny.
And after watching through them, yeah, I can kinda see why. While I think Season 3 is a massive improvement over the first 2, they're all very rough around the edges, with them heavily relying on fart jokes or just swearing and having the joke be, "Oh look, a little boy sweared, isn't that funny?" I wouldn't call them bad, well, bar a few, but they're just not anything special. Matt and Trey thought Season 2 and 3 were so bad that the show wasn't going to be picked up for a 4th season, and also because of their feelings towards them, they wanted to step away from the show and produce something live action, and I mean, they did. But what changed their mind about South Park? Clearly they stuck with the show, and it continued on to be one of the most acclaimed series in all of television. Well, there's one simple answer, that I know of at least, and that's the 1999 theatrical film South Park Bigger, Longer and Uncut. Matt and Trey signed on to make a South Park movie halfway through Season 1, since the network wanted to cash in on the show's current success, fearing that it was just a fad. Matt and Trey also feared this, with it being another reason for them wanting to step away from it pretty early on. I personally wasn't able to experience the South Park movie when it was initially released, because, well, I wasn't born yet. But around 2009 I found the show and immediately fell in love with it. I would watch it every night it was on Comedy Central, collect the merch, and use these old things known as DVDs. Around 2010, my uncle informed me that there was a South Park movie, and I knew I needed to watch it. Since I still didn't know what the internet was, I had to wait until my birthday to get my hands on it, and when the day came I received a DVD of South Park Bigger, Longer and Uncut for my 8th birthday, along with Epic Mickey for the Wii. Kind of a contrast in gifts there. Safe to say the anticipation of opening it before school and then having to wait until I got home to watch it was torture, but when I got home it was the most satisfying thing ever. I absolutely adored this film as a kid. I'd watch it at least once a week and show it to everybody I knew. I thought it was the greatest thing ever conceived by man. But does it still hold up? Fuck yes. I'm not gonna beat around the bush here, folks. There's not gonna be any, but is this movie actually overrated? Shit. I loved this movie then, and I love this movie now. The movie is about the boys going to see an R-rated movie, Asses of Fire, and they find themselves imitating the words and actions they saw in the film. Once their parents catch wind of what they're saying and doing, they set out to get the show off the air. The plot of this film was ripped right out of an episode from Season 1, Death, with both featuring the parents of South Park, notably Kyle's mum, Sheila Broflovsky. Noticing that the Canadian show that their kids watch, Terrence and Phillip, is filled with crude humour and bad language, and so they set out to get it cancelled.
Terrence and Phillip is a show that the boys in South Park like to watch, and the truth is, they're Canadian. That's why they're so silly.
It seems kind of redundant to have your movie be a rehash of a previous episode, but I think it's able to be miles better and stand apart from the episode by raising the stakes. One thing Matt and Trey didn't want to do when making this film was just have it feel like a regular episode stretched out for an hour and a half, and this succeeded completely in my opinion. It doesn't just stop at the parents going to the network to get the show taken off the air, it leads to a parental organisation being made which results in Terrence and Phillip being scheduled for execution and an all-out war against America and Canada. They do a really good job at taking a concept that fits right at home with the show's style and making it more theatrical. And all this is wrapped in some great commentary about the show itself, that never feels like it's being shoved in your face. It took me many years of watching it to even see the connection, but then again I was 8 so I don't know how impressive of a feat that is. The commentary is basically that the Terrence and Phillip movie is a representation of South Park the show, and Mothers Against Canada represent all the parents and groups who complained about South Park being nothing but fart jokes, and that they don't want their kids watching it, with the main message behind the movie being parents should take responsibility over their own kids, and not point their bad parenting at a network.
Whenever I get in trouble, you go off and blame everybody else. But I'm the one to blame.
The plot is really well done. I think it mainly succeeds in the audience not needing to know the context or commentary to enjoy it, unlike the current seasons of the show, which heavily rely on you knowing the context behind what they're talking about. Something else this movie excels at, besides everything, is the music. Oh yeah, this movie is a musical, I probably should have mentioned that. Trey Parker is extremely talented at music. Him and Matt even made a Broadway show. So when he pitched to Paramount the idea of it being a musical, they declined.
We finally got Paramount to do a South Park movie, and we're like, we're gonna make it a musical, and they're like, oh no, don't do that.
My only guess for them not wanting to do it would be that it probably would have been hard to see what's being advertised as a hardcore, edgy comedy film also containing Broadway music, but surprisingly it worked really well. I can't name a single song in this entire film that I don't at least somewhat enjoy, and instead of just feeling like a pointless addition, they're all used to further the plot in some way. For example, Blame Canada is used to disguise a montage of mothers against Canada rapidly acquiring a following, or Mountain Town quickly establishing all the characters, before finishing when they arrive at the movie theatre, kicking off the plot. Speaking of Mountain Town, can I just say how brilliant of an opening it is? It's set up in a way to mock how parents wanted the show to be, with it being unusually cheery, and being one of only 2 songs in the film not to contain any cursing, with the other being Up There, a Disney princess song sung by Satan. See, while imitating an act he saw in the movie, Kenny ends up killing himself and is sent to hell, where he meets Satan and his partner, Saddam Hussein, who plot their return to Earth once Terrence and Philip are killed. This is hands down my favourite depiction of Satan in any form of media. He's first presented as this huge, intimidating threat, but is immediately brought down, and throughout the movie has to switch between a threatening villain and disgruntled spouse. I love it.
Who's my cream puff?
I am.
That's my buddy.
Not to mention his song is objectively the best in the film, no contest. Also, I'd like to mention that once he was captured, this movie was played to Saddam Hussein, and he enjoyed it. You know you've done something right when this man loves it. It's kind of funny. When I was younger, I fixated a lot more in the songs that involved a lot of vulgar language, like Kyle's mom's a bitch. But now that I'm older, it's given me the opportunity to appreciate the other great aspects of the movie. Like, half these jokes completely flew over my head as a kid, so back then my enjoyment came almost exclusively from the swearing. But now going back to revisit it, I can still say that this movie is really funny. An issue that I and many others have at the newer seasons of South Park is how the jokes and references become dated very quickly, with the show's nature of commentating on recent events. It makes going back to those episodes very hard, because you have to put yourself back in the mindset of the time it was released. But thankfully this isn't really an issue with the film. The only time I can think of a joke now being dated is when the General brought Bill Gates in to complain about Windows 98. And the countless celebrity references. But even then, I can look past them, because of how funny the rest of the movie is. They're constantly hitting you with joke after joke. Even in the serious action scenes, they're able to make me laugh without it interrupting the tone. And there are a lot of fun background gags, such as the MPAA approved version of Ashes of Fire being a minute long, and the book Satan is reading. A lot of care was put into the animation, although that doesn't stop it from looking pretty dated. This isn't really a complaint since it was kind of inevitable. The movie's visuals were incredible compared to the first 3 seasons, but like most film adaptations of animated shows, it looks a lot worse when you see how the show looks now. Again, not really a complaint. And I can appreciate them still trying to make it look like it was made with actual construction paper, by giving characters subtle drop shadows, although sometimes they can go a little overboard with it. I can also appreciate how they try to be a lot more cinematic. The scene of Canada bombing the Baldwins first comes to mind, but especially during the musical numbers there are a lot of impressive shots. Now, it's not a perfect movie. It does have a few flaws, like Kyle for some reason knowing how to hack. Although a part of me likes to feel like that was intentional, with Kyle silently looking at Eric and Stan as he does it. And I noticed a few animation errors, but I can forgive these because I'm biased towards South Park. It did really well, getting amazing reviews, and raking in around 80 million on a $20 million budget, with it being the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time, until it was passed by Sausage Party in 2016. And I can only guess the movie's success convinced Matt and Trey to give the show another shot, and it was definitely a good decision. Watching it along with the early seasons again was so strange after watching the newer seasons. They really feel like completely different shows. When it started, the episodes never really focused on current topics, and I can only guess that their reasoning for now focusing on this is because they've run out of ideas. So when they come in to write an episode with a 6-day time limit, all they have as material is what's going on in the news. And while I do still enjoy the current seasons to a certain extent, it's very impressive that they were able to go around 19 seasons without that much of a dip in quality. Although someday I do hope that they'll return to form and step away from politics. I know Matt and Trey have showed interest in making another film. The Imagination Land trilogy was initially supposed to be just that, but they felt like it didn't warrant being one. And again, with the show's current success, or lack thereof, I don't think it's going to continue for much longer, so hopefully by the time the series ends, Matt and Trey will have another film idea, so they can really end the series on a high note. I don't have a joke to end this on, I just really like this movie.